Hello and welcome. This
Hello.
is this is a webinar, a mini course it's called, on touching the sacred through the now. I'm Ann Weiser Cornell.
I'm Peter Gill.
And Paula Gamble Grant. It's nice to meet you all.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to be with you. Wonderful that you could come with us today on this journey. We call it a course or a mini course, but really we are learners as well. We are not here to teach you something, but here to share with you some experiences that touch us, and we'll find out if they touch you as well. Touching the sacred. What is the sacred? That's one of the big questions we have for you, for each other. Right now, I feel like I want the sacred to mean something that's special, lit up, not just something I ignore or pass over because it's ordinary, but something I pause with and take a moment to value and take in. And I'm wondering if I can expand that sense of value to more in my daily life. So I have this object right here. It's a rose quartz pyramid. Very easy to feel this as sacred. But what if I also want to find this pencil as something sacred? Well, let's see what that would be like. And then what about me? And what about all the things inside me? Are they of the kind of value and specialness that I want to give to what's sacred? Let's be curious.
Yeah, and I'm really struck by the word now. Touching the sacred through the now. And the now, to me, one time my spiritual director said to me, the only now is now. And it felt so profound. Like, yeah, that's right. The only time I can live life is in this moment and my experience of this moment. So I have a hungering in me for the now and for listening into the now.
Beautiful.
Thanks. For me, this topic is I just love I love this word, sacred. I mean, I don't know, it does something, and I don't even understand exactly what that is yet. And part of the course for me is an exploration of that. Like, this course is sort of about questions as well. Like, is everything sacred? And if everything isn't, what would that mean? Like, then what do we do with the things that aren't? So that's one of the kind of questions that it holds for me, really. And also there's something about sacredness being ours. Like, it's not just in the realm of religious books or teachers or special places, or those places might have that quality, but what about our everyday life? Like, what in our everyday life and our everyday experience, our now, our moment-to-moment experience, what is sacred? And what does the world tell us is sacred, and what does the world tell us that isn't? There's a lot of divisions, aren't there? Well, this isn't worthy of looking at, or we ignore this, or exile that, death or grief or difficulty, or no, those aren't sacred.
Sexuality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or even like food, soil, nature. Like a lot of other things that would seem sacred or were once even have got lost. So yeah, for me, there's something about bringing things back into that, whatever this is, a realm of being sacred that this course touches.
Yeah, beautiful. So let's take a moment together to do a little inner sensing.
No.
This is a welcome sensing, a welcome moment. Yeah. Just taking your time to be more and more aware of your body right now. Feeling your whole body present here and now. and aware of your breath, and aware of your body in the room around you. Just sensing here and now. What am I aware of here? Perhaps the sensation of my buttocks and back touching my chair. Perhaps it's the sound of the rain falling outside. Here and now. And pausing to sense if all of what I'm feeling right now is welcome. Is welcome. I might also be aware of my emotions and my thoughts. Do I have a worry today? Yeah, I've got a couple. And are they welcome? What's here? What's here and now, and how welcome is it? Are there aspects of myself that I really like? And other aspects of myself that I'd like to kind of keep pushed away? Or is all of it welcome? Just taking the time to notice what's here and now that you might consider sacred, special, holy, infused with life and meaning, valuable, precious. And is there something that you don't think you feel, if something in you feels, no, that I don't like that, that doesn't belong here? And we're just noticing that. Just considering the possibility that maybe all of it is precious. Maybe all of it is sacred. Looking around the room. See if you'd like to pick up an object and touch it. What if that's sacred too? So let's bring this short exercise to a gentle completion. Letting awareness expand. Continuing to feel yourself in the room around you. Thank you. I enjoy doing that. I feel very, very much here. It was nice to say hello to my worries and realize that they belong. How was it for you? Paula or Peter might say, but also anybody else, tell us in the chat, how are you right now? Just arriving, just being able to welcome and notice.
I'd love to share something.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the worries and including those, like I didn't realize how something in me was holding those at bay, the worries and difficulties of my day or life that are with me right now. Like I could sink into the ground.
Mm.
And it wasn't like they became all okay at all, but it was more like, I sensed the possibility of in them somehow. Like I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but just the landscape just became bigger in my body. Like before, it was like a kind of narrow corridor. I was like in a hotel and going past all the rooms I don't want to go in. I don't want that one today, and that one's annoying. And then it's like a big open, I don't know, like open plan room or something. The possibility of sensing it differently felt very fresh, and then these two words from a Rumi poem, which was welcome difficulty. It says welcome difficulty. Just came to mind. Yeah, that's it. Welcome difficulty. I remember how important.
Welcome difficulty.
Welcome
Right.
difficulty.
Mm.
So
Wouldn't that
that's
be
okay.
great? Welcome difficulty. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So Mia writes, inner sensing is a sacred moment, a moment set apart. So there's something about setting apart that has the quality of sacred, doesn't it? And Rebecca writes, I'm having trouble with wanting to exclude certain people who threaten me that I judge. Yeah. Really acknowledging that could be a challenge to see those people. And also your own feelings of feeling threatened. Those need to be welcome too. And Lisa says, my back hurts. Yeah, the pain of a hurting back. Wow. We don't have to love it, but let's embrace it. I wonder what's possible there. Gisela writes, my feeling of frustration is also sacred. And Diana writes, it's a reminder that what matters is our relationship to everything, not the thing in itself. Yeah, beautifully said. Christina writes, I arrived here from a state of tension and work stress, and now I feel more spacious. Wonderful. And here's Andrea saying, I arrived more fully in my body. Marie writes, I'm more able to embrace the unwanted parts. Elizabeth says, what if my tangle around caretaking is sacred? Yeah. Yeah. Well, we want to talk to you a little bit about finding beauty and what's sacred in unexpected, surprising places. Peter has got something about that.
I just wanted to check in with Paul. Had anything to add to this topic we've just spoken about? Because
the only thing I have to add is it is a gift to pause. Every time I do it, I just am allowed to. It feels like my soul can catch up with my thoughts and my body that are just spinning and going. But there's a chance to just breathe, be. So it's a gift every time I pause. and allow this welcome to be there. Yeah.
Great.
So that's what I'm aware of.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay, yeah. So one of the things I like to do more than I like to do, somehow it sustains me. I would say it sustains me. It's a practice, it's photography. And particularly I find myself wanting to find the beauty in everyday places, or in forgotten places, or in neglected places, in abandoned buildings, or overgrown pieces of land, or in the corners of a city, or anywhere really. But it's something about finding beauty in the everyday and in the forgotten that continues to draw me. It kind of it just gives me some sort of faith in life somehow, when I maybe if I get a bit down, or a bit, oh, it's all too difficult, this can really bring a big lift, sort of doing this as a practice. So it's not my living. I'm not a photographer professionally, but it's more than a hobby. It's somehow a kind of meaningful artistic interaction with the world. So as part of this webinar, I've created a 5-minute slideshow and of some of my photographs that I hope evoke this topic of finding the beauty in everyday and forgotten. I might say a few words during it, just to invitations to take in and pause, and at the end I'm going to carry on and just maybe guide for another 2 or 3 minutes, just inviting you to remember something like that in your life, some moment of beauty, even if it's small and passing. So yeah, and I'll share a screen to do that. It's such a silent slideshow, just a time to contemplate. Let me just share the screen. So maybe as the images come by, just notice what they touch or what happens in you. Nothing has to happen, but just noticing. Maybe thoughts come, or feelings, sensations in the body. Nothing at all. That's okay. All is welcome. let's take a pause there and just sense how it is inside right now. Maybe something was stirred, and if not, that's okay. But just notice your body, notice yourself here. These are my moments of beauty, but maybe you've had your own. Even today, maybe just casting your mind back, memory back. Maybe there was something you saw or heard, some moment of beauty. It could have been just a pattern on a plate or sound of rain. Someone smile. Might have been a big moment, a sunset or a big vista of nature or something. That's also, maybe you've seen that right now or recently. But taking in that, something happens there when we see beauty. Something happens in us, however that beauty looks to others. We know it as beautiful, so maybe just being curious. What happens in you when you just touch that sense of something beautiful? What happens in your body, inside? Might be hard to put into words. But something in that moment gets recognized, let's say, or some connection to something bigger, maybe. These are my words, but yeah, sensing what happens for you. Either in that remembering something beautiful or in response to those images, or even just the word beauty. Let's take another half a minute or something just to be curious about that. Okay. And gently bringing that to a close. And let's open to some, maybe hear from Anne and Paula, and let's take in some comments.
Yeah, some people are already writing in the chat. Very
Yeah,
interesting. Thank you so much. You know what came to me, and I had not seen this slideshow before, just some of the images, it made me very happy. I felt like, I don't know, if I was a dead, dried up leaf, I would love for somebody to come along and find me beautiful, even in my dried upness.
Nice.
And there's something about the way that it's taken as a photograph that sort of says, okay, look at this, look at this. And then I realized the word beauty isn't quite right. I don't feel like, yes, it's beautiful, but there's something else that's, and the word sacred isn't quite right either. And in the chat, Mia wrote, being so. It's something like that. It's thisness. It's vibrating with isness or something. Yeah. That's how it was for me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. And if any of you partake in this thing called Instagram, you can follow Peter and see these lovely images anytime you'd like.
Mhm.
I've been happy to sit with many of them before, but the one that struck me this time, Peter, there was a window and then there was a ladder leaning toward it.
Oh yeah.
And same, Anne, it wasn't beautiful to me, but what I think Marion wrote, there's a kind of longing. That's what was evoked in that picture for me, was a longing, like, I don't want that ladder over there. I wanted to move the ladder. Like I could sense something in me wanted to move that ladder over to the window to get in or get out. I don't know, but there was a whole like story and a longing that picture evoked in me, a wanting that felt very strong. Like the other ones were, wow, look at that texture. That's amazing. I can't believe you can capture this. But that one really drew all of me into it. So I'll likely be sitting with it more later today. Yeah. Yeah.
Longing is another, it's an interesting feeling, one that can come with the kind of attention we're giving here. And longing is a kind of knowing that something more is needed, or something more is possible, or there's a pointing toward the next step of some kind. Yes, I'm loving what people are writing in the chat.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes, the beauty, Christina writes, what struck me was the beauty in the photos and the beauty of the human being taking the photos. How wonderful that we can do this for each other.
That's right.
Bring beauty, reveal the sacred, however we want to put it. Yeah, it's really lovely.
Yeah.
That reminds me of what Diana wrote earlier about how it's in the relationship
Exactly.
that the sacredness is. So it's when we see a photograph, we see the photographer's relationship to what is there. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, exactly. Or in any piece of art where there's or creativity where the whole human is sort of there, it comes through, doesn't it? The music or the writing. It's not just
Sure.
that whole, yeah. And I love that isness. Yeah, I think I agree. Beauty was sort of one bit of it, but there's more.
Beauty is there, sacred is there, and yet
Mm.
it reminds me of a time when I was really opening up to my spiritual side. I decided to just pay attention all the time. And it was summer in Chicago, and there were these little white butterflies everywhere. And it became like the white butterflies were saying, look at this, look at this, look at this. Everything is, look at this, look at this. Everything is luminous with the look at this. Yeah, paying attention. Yeah. I wanted to connect what we're talking about with the philosophy of Eugene Gendlin, which I've been studying for many years. I feel like I still don't know much about it. Gisela wrote in the chat, anything we see can be a carrying forward. Any image can be more than an image. And so that the concept of carrying forward is from Gendlin's philosophy. And it says that always, right now, has a pointing toward next steps in it. Everything is alive. Everything that's alive is not just is. Jean would say, nothing just is. Everything is and being alive means we are in that state of being on our way or ready for, or maybe even longing for what could be next. Interesting. I often say this as everything that's alive, but in this slideshow, I saw that dead leaves and paint peeling walls have the same quality. So interesting. Jean would say, life wants to live, which is another way to say there is always this sense of forward or next. And another thing I heard Jean say is that this is a universe in which we belong. And I think that was important to him because there are sort of views of the universe that we've are necessary in order to do science, but they've crept into the common idea about what reality is. That the universe is mostly made of dead matter. There's mostly wide spaces between stars and galaxies, and there's not much alive there. And then this world, this earth with its beautiful livingness is like a little afterthought at the far edge of all that. And what would it be like to say, no, the universe is a place where we belong, where we are possible. It must be such a place since we are possible. So that's somehow part of this, and something that enables me to feel like even my longing matters, and even my worries and fears matter, because a worry and a fear is like it points also to what isn't wanted. Longing points toward what is wanted. Yes, thank you so much. Rainbow wrote, seeing the abandoned, rundown places brought up a sense of a gentle, soft leaning into those places, and a whisper that said, tell me your story. A wanting to be truly present for and listening deeply to what these places might whisper back. Yes.
Lovely.
I felt that too, Rainbow, that there's a story there. And why, for me, these ragged, worn, battered places are so much more meaningful than if they're all brand new and freshly painted, because I feel there's a life story there that would be so nice to hear. All that brought me to this moment.
Yeah, and it's that truly, those words again, a wanting to be truly present for and listening deeply. I heard someone say earlier this week, this story about Moses. If you know the story about Moses, and the ground becomes holy. He takes off his shoes because the ground's holy, and it's said that the ground didn't all of a sudden become holy or sacred. It always was, but he stopped to pay attention. He stopped to listen and discover that it was already there. And there's a whole feel of that, I think, in Jen Lin's philosophy for me. So the invitation, that carrying forward's already there, that invitation to living the fullness of me, an acorn becoming an oak tree. So that pause again, that pause to pay attention and listen, so essential, so fundamental, and it's transformative. It's absolutely transformative to discover what's already there.
And yet through our discovering of it, change it and us.
Yes.
So
yes, always. Yeah.
Always.
That relationship, because it's relationship, we're relating to it. It's morphing, growing. Yeah.
Well, Paula, you have another experience for us.
Yeah. Well, I love, we didn't plan this, Anne, but you just talked about this, we belong. And
Mhm.
And I remember you telling me a story of you being in class with Gene back in Chicago decades ago. And how did he start every class?
Well, it was actually the first words I ever heard him say, because I arrived at a meeting that he was giving, and my friends had told me this is a cool thing, you should go. I walked in the door, found a seat in this very crowded room, and he was sitting up at the front of the room, sitting on the table actually, so everyone could see him. And he said, "This is changes. If you're here, you belong here."
Yeah.
And that's been the spirit of the focusing that I've done ever since, and really was a
Yeah.
key moment for my whole life. If you're here, you belong here.
If you're
Right.
here, you belong here. And I remember you sharing that with me, and it kind of came into me and did a whole bunch of, like, when I became attentive to that, there was a whole bunch that happened within. And I wish I could see everybody's faces.
Yeah.
Lovely to see Anne and Peter, but
Yeah.
I wish I could look you each in the eye and say, if you're here, you belong here. Hopefully in a couple weeks, I'll get to do that.
Yeah. If you join us for our class,
Yeah.
we'll be able
Yeah.
to see you.
Yeah, but I've been so touched by this that it's how I start every one of my own classes now.
Mhm.
And I also add, this is a kind of a line that I always have used, is you are not a problem to be solved. You are a sacred story. So I want us to pause for a moment and let those sentiments come in. Let's pause. We've heard a lot of words, seen a lot of beauty. We're paying attention. Coming back into your body. Feeling your feet, maybe sensing them in the earth like roots in the ground. Rooted and grounded in love. Roots that have sustenance. Nourishment comes up through roots. Roots that ground us. You, since you're here, you belong here. You're not a problem to be solved. And see if you can bring those words like into yourself somehow. Bring them into this spacious inner place within. Your throat, your chest, heart space, your whole belly. You hear the words, since you're here, you belong here. You're not a problem. You're sacred. Notice what happens. Maybe you have some resonance with that. Maybe there's moisture in the corner of your eye. Maybe it stirs something in you bubbly. Just sensing the way your body is receiving those words, those sentiments. Being with whatever comes, with loving, caring presence. And if you do have resonance, feel free to stay with that, but perhaps you might also feel something that feels something like resistance, like, I'm not so sure. You hear those words and it's a little unnerving to you. And so you might say, yeah, something in me feels that. That's okay too. And you might see if you can gently turn, if that's there, to turn toward that. Say, I see you. You matter. And I'm here with you, this part of me that's a little unnerved. And maybe that unnerving or that resistance has a embodied quality to it. Might be something you can describe. Tight, clamped, shrinking, yellow. See if it's okay to be with that, if that's true for you. Because if something in you does feel resistance, it doesn't need to be solved. It doesn't need to be overcome or prayed away. Maybe there's a wanting there. And we'll come to a gentle close here shortly. But maybe you have both a resonance and a resistance. Maybe they're both here. Maybe there's something about those words that open you, and there's also something that is a little hesitant, pulling away. And you might acknowledge both, like letting them be there, both be there at the same time. And taking a moment to thank your body's process, how your body interacted and related to. You belong, you're not a problem, you're sacred. And then also sensing what might want to be remembered from just touching into this briefly. What wants to be remembered? What in you wants to carry forward? And then when you're ready to gently come back to our space, tenderly, whatever way feels right. Yeah. And Peter.
Thank you, Paula. So nice. Even in your voice, I hear such a welcome to everything. And then it reminds me again of Jean Genlin, who I first heard use language like that. You'd have somebody in the workshop raise their hand and say, but what if I can't feel friendly toward what I'm finding inside? And he'd say, oh, well, then see if you can be friendly to that. And whether friendly is not the right word, let's use another word.
Yeah, and you talk about it as a radical acceptance. I think I hear it as a radical welcome. That feels more fitting for me, and inner hospitality towards whatever's there.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to share something that came for me in that, which was not so much to do with not so much to do with me seeing or not seeing myself as a problem, but my story with my son. My son is on the autism spectrum, and for many years we struggled, with understanding what was going on, and saw him as a problem in a certain kind, not completely, but that there were a lot of problems, and how much since that diagnosis and a lot of learning and like how much he opens when he's seen as a whole complexity and just welcomed as he is, with all the wildness and emotions and things that don't make sense in conventional parenting. And so, but wow, isn't it amazing to see to take that to other people, not just oneself? Like, oh, no one's a problem to be solved. Like, no one's a problem. No one's people have problems and there's difficulties, but they're not just a problem. Anyway, so that really, it
It's
really
not their
touched me.
essence.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Thank
how
you so much for
the change in him, because that's what really struck me, like how he has become like lit up. He lights up when he's accepted as he is.
so you accept him, but he changes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
You change, he changes.
yeah.
It's relationship. Of
Exactly.
course, the
Yeah.
whole field changes.
Yeah, the whole thing, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm.
I love it.
Mm.
We want to explore this more. Let's talk about the opportunity to do that that's coming up in a few weeks. Our longer course, 4 weeks. Our 4-week course is called Touching the Sacred Through the Now. And it is starting on January 23rd. And what are we going to do there that's more or different than what we're doing today? We are going to explore more what's often exiled from or excluded from the sacred, including, for me, a lot of what goes on in the lower part of my body. The sexuality. In the handouts, I tell the story of the arrival of my first period. And that felt like something I should be ashamed of. And that everybody around me talked about only in whispers in the corner of the locker room. What happens when certain areas of life are excluded from what's acceptable and welcome? And then we're going to experiment with expanding, of course, those of us who want to include what's been excluded. So that's partly it. What else, my dears?
We'll be looking at our relationship with nature, the natural world. But I guess belonging, that piece around belonging and the kind of intrinsic sacredness of the natural world and how we are included in that. And we'll do that in one of the weeks, but I've also got an exercise in between weeks, the kind of exploration to do, and we're offering those as well. So there'll be some in between the 2 sets of 2 weeks. There'll be some exercises we do.
Right. So we're meeting January 23rd and then January 30, and then we have a week off.
Yeah.
And in that time, we have other exercises for you. Each of us will offer one for you to do in that in-between time. And then we'll come back for 2 more weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, several of you who took the previous iteration of this, focusing in the more, wanted some writing exercises. So I've created a creative writing in order to get in touch to and listen to your soul exercise that'll be available during that time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People also who took the previous course asked us for more contact with each other. So we're going to do that. And we're also going to include life transitions and how that can sometimes be a place to find the sacred. Just thinking about the slideshow we saw, every object we saw was in the middle of its own life transition, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Me too. And what's that? What about that? What about my aging skin? And what about the losses of people that are close to us that can happen at any age, of course? And that's part of what we'll be exploring in our 4 weeks together. And also more about beauty and more about how beauty can reflect back to us something that we are ourselves, and something that the sacred is. Anything you'd like to add to that, my dears? The last day to register is January 16, so that's next week. We have another week.
I think I want to just say how much I've enjoyed these. I mean, it's not the same course, but dwelling in this realm of opening to this dimension of life, and how focusing has so much to offer that. And each week as of the previous courses, I've left feeling, I don't know, a sense of mystery or a bigger connection. I've really loved doing them and crafting them together. It's been really enjoyable. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it for myself. It's not like we're giving you all the finished answers. It's very much a process of exploration and opening. That's how I experience them.
And just consciously be aware of how the community is part of the value of what we're doing together. We wanted to create a course that was both, that had all the things people liked about the first course, and also was different enough so it wouldn't be just a repetition. And if you took the previous course, there is a discount on taking this one. So write to us to let us know. Will there be partner focusing? Not officially, because it's not required. The course is open to anyone. Anyone is welcome in the course. They don't have to have had partnership training. But we'll have ways you can reach out to each other and meet each other for partnership. I wanted to share a poem as we're sitting and sensing if we have more we want to ask. This is a short poem called God Says Yes to Me by Kaylin Hott. I asked God if it was okay to be melodramatic, and she said yes. I asked her if it was okay to be short, and she said, it sure is. I asked her if I could wear nail polish or not wear nail polish, and she said, honey, she calls me that sometimes. She said, you can do just exactly what you want to. Thanks, God, I said. And is it even okay if I don't paragraph my letters? Sweet cakes, God said. Who knows where she picked that up? What I'm telling you is, yes, yes, yes. So
Thank you.
we'll complete our time together with yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so
everyone.
much for your
Thanks for coming.
contributions. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Yay.
Hope to
Take
see
care. Hope to see you. We're so
Hope to see you there.
excited.
Bye.
See you there.
Bye.
Bye.